Hey, how's it going? I'm Jeff.
I'm not Jeff.
Today we're in Sandwich, New Hampshire, which is home to the Great Wall of Sandwich. So we're going to show you some sections of that wall, and we're going to tell you the story about why it's here.
Hey, can you make me a sandwich?
Poof, you're a sandwich.
Oh.
Today we're once again in the state of New Hampshire, but this time we've traveled to the town of Sandwich. Sandwich is nestled right in between the White Mountains and the Lakes region, and it's one of the biggest towns in New Hampshire by area, sprawling across 93.5 square miles. Sandwich was chartered by Royal Governor Benning Wentworth in 1763 and named in honor of John Montague, the 4th Earl of Sandwich. Yeah, that guy. The one famous for putting a couple of slices of meat between some bread because he was too busy playing cards to take a break and eat a real meal. But we thank him for making lunchtime a little easier. Thanks, John. It's also where you'll find the Sandwich Fair, an annual agricultural fair dating back to 1888 with delicious food, exciting rides, and plenty of family entertainment. You'll also find the former home of Claude Rains, a Hollywood legend who played the titular character in 1933's The Invisible Man, and one half of the beautiful friendship formed at the end of Casablanca in 1942. He lived here until his death in 1967 and is buried in a nearby cemetery. Well, we're here to show you the Great Wall of Sandwich. Constructed between 1874 and 1875, the wall's been somewhat of a tourist attraction for decades. Now, the majority of stone walls in New Hampshire were constructed by farmers clearing their farmland, but this one was built for a different reason. It all started in 1824 when 22-year-old Isaac Adams grew tired of his life as an apprentice here in Sandwich, so he set his sights on a bigger and better life in Boston. But he had one problem. He was poor. So he asked some of his neighbors if they could lend him enough money to purchase a stagecoach ride to the big city, but nobody helped him. Deeply insulted and highly motivated, Adams vowed that he'd make a name for himself and return to Sandwich and enact his revenge. Four years after arriving in Boston, Adams invented what would later be known as the Adams Power Press, a machine that would revolutionize the printing industry. And by 1836, the Adams Power Press was the leading machine used in book printing and remained that way for much of the 19th century. So as a result, Adams became a multimillionaire. In 1861, Adams decided that he would return to Sandwich and live out the rest of his days in retirement. But he wasn't going to let the residents of Sandwich get away with what they did to him. So he began purchasing the farms of his neighbors, the ones who refused to help him, and he demolished them. He used some of the wood from these houses to construct his own estate, which consisted of a windmill, barns, stables, gardens, and even had a bowling alley in there. He paid at least 100 laborers a handsome salary over the course of 2 years to construct a shoulder-high, 10-foot wide wall using the foundation stones left over from the farms that he purchased. When they ran out of foundation stones, they took boulders from the area and stone from nearby quarries to finish. Then, as his final act of vengeance, he erected a 7-foot stone statue of the Greek character Niobe on the most visible portion of the wall for all the Sandwich citizens to see. The choice of Niobe was never fully explained by Adams, but after looking at her story, it's clear why she was chosen. Niobe, the beautiful and wealthy queen of Thebes, was punished by the gods after she refused to honor Leto, mother of Apollo and Artemis. Niobe thought she was superior to Leto because she had 14 handsome and beautiful children, whereas Leto only had 2. She instructed the women of Thebes to honor her, their earthly queen, instead of Leto. In fact, she openly mocked the great goddess, which enraged Leto. Niobe's hubris led to the deaths of her children at the hands of Apollo and Artemis. Then Niobe was turned to stone and placed atop a mountain where she weeps for eternity. One could say Adam saw himself as a god, and he was punishing the citizens of Sandwich for their hubris. But instead of killing them, he took everything away from them by destroying their homes, much like everything was taken away from Niobe. Her statue was placed there to remind the people what could happen to the prideful. The statue remained atop the wall until 1941, when a hurricane knocked it off, shattering it into hundreds of pieces. Luckily, the pieces were saved and stored, but the exact location was forgotten over time. It took decades to find them. They were finally discovered in 2004 in a barn on the Adams estate property, buried under a pile of manure. Local artist Adam Nudhomeyer painstakingly restored the statue, and she was placed back on her pedestal on Little Pond Road for all to see. When you come to the Great Wall of Sandwich, of course, you should eat a sandwich. It's only appropriate. Hey, thanks for spending your lunchtime with us here on another episode of Exit the Norm.
Make sure you like, subscribe, and let us know what your favorite sandwich is down in the comments.